today, as I say, we are going to be covering the subject of how to let go of the past. Now, I am sure that you all have had times when you think back to something that has happened in your life and somehow you feel like you just cannot let it go. Maybe it's an argument. Hi, Julie. Maybe it's something you've done or something that was done to you, more likely. And you play it on loop in your head. You know, if only I'd said this, if only I'd done that, I should have. Why did this happen? And we've all been there. We've all had these moments. Or maybe, you know, hi, Lauren, maybe you look back on things through rose-tinted glasses. Maybe that's your thing. Maybe you constantly comparing today with the good old days, you know, feeling like things will never be as good as they once were because, you know, they were all fantastic in the 80s. And holding on to the past, you know, whether it's regret, whether it's resentment, whether it's nostalgia, can keep you from fully stepping into who you are now and to what you want next. So where you're going in life. So I want to take a look at some of the ways that we actually keep ourselves stuck in this life. I have to say, guys, I've got this new standing up desk and I'm absolutely loving it. So if you see me wandering around, it's because I can move. So let's think about some regret-based thinking that we have, the should haves. You know, I don't like I should have, but think about your career. You know, I should have gone for that promotion years ago instead of playing it safe. Now I'm stuck in a job that doesn't excite me and it feels too late to change. Think about relationships where we do this. Oh, should I left my marriage sooner? I wasted so many years being unhappy and now I feel like I've missed my chance to find love again. So when we have these should haves, it's just a real kind of, I don't know what I just said. It doesn't matter because we didn't. So let's think about when we do it through rose-tinted nostalgia, you know, it was so much better then. You know, think about our appearance when we say things like, I used to look amazing, my skin was glowing, I didn't have this menopause belly and I felt sexy. Now I just feel invisible. Or with relationships, when you're saying, I miss my kid when my kids were little and they needed me. And now they have their own lives and I feel a little bit lost. You know, or even just life in general, we do it, don't we? You know, I had so much more energy, so much more fun and opportunities back then. And we do it all the time and we kind of hold on to something that doesn't actually exist anymore. Well, let's think about when we've had past that's hurt us, things that are unfair, arguments that still haunt you. You say to yourself, you know, I can't believe I let her talk to me like that. I should have stood up for myself. Or I wish I'd said something different when I said that. And you keep replaying it in your head over and over. And then let's get to the other one, breakups. Let's be honest, whether it's romantic or whether it's friendships. You know, you sit there and you think, you know, I gave so much to that relationship and it still fell apart. You know, what was the point? Or she was my best friend and now we don't even speak. How did it come to this? What happened? And then the other ones that we get, you know, being treated unfairly. How many times we say that's not fair? Do we think it's not fair? Whether that's at work, whether it's in the family, whether it's in life. You know, I worked so hard and they promoted someone else younger instead of me. And we hold on to that. My ex moved on so quickly and I'm still picking up the pieces. Or, you know, I gave my all to my family and now I feel taken for granted. And we hold on to all these things. And the reality is, we cannot change those things. We just keep reliving them and we argue with ourselves and it goes on in our head, this constant conversation. And that's where there is a common thread, because whether it's regret, nostalgia, or resentment, all of these experiences can hold you emotionally hostage in a life you've already lived instead of focusing on that life ahead of us. I mean, it's easy to say to yourself, come on, just move on. But if it were that simple, let's be honest, you would have already done it. And the truth is, the past becomes comfortable, even if it's painful. Regret can make you feel like fixing the past is the only way forward. It's the only way you can move on. Nostalgia can make the present feel dull or disappointing in comparison. And resentment can keep you stuck in an emotional battle waiting for an apology that just is never going to come. We've all been there. But here's the reality. The past only exists in our mind. The only power it has over you is the meaning that you continue to give it. And the longer you hold on to it, the more it impacts your confidence, your happiness, and the ability to create the life you want right now. So let's take a look at it. Think about your confidence. You know, have you ever caught yourself thinking, oh, I should have known better, or why did I make that choice? And we do this and we have these regrets, and these regrets actually make you doubt your ability. They make you question yourself, and they make you wonder if it's actually possible for you to make good decisions now. Like somehow you're totally incapable of getting it right anymore. And if you keep telling yourself that your best years are behind you, it's no surprise that taking action for the future just feels so pointless. After all, I mean, what's the point of trying if you secretly believe that you've already missed your chance? You're not going to, are you? It also sucks the joy out of the present. You know, and you're constantly comparing today to how good things were in the 1980s. It's easy to feel like something is missing. You know, back then I was thinner, I was happier, it was more fun, my relationships were better, life was more exciting, nothing was so expensive. We go on and on. It sounds familiar. We all do it, you know, and the more you dwell on what was, the harder it is to enjoy what is. And holding on to resentment, that's, like I say, it's like dragging an emotional suitcase full of old arguments, disappointments, and hurt everywhere you go. And quite frankly, it's exhausting. And more importantly, as I said, it keeps you stuck. Because the fear of making another mistake can make you hesitate to take any risks. You know, maybe you think, like, what if I mess it up again? And so you don't do anything. And if you're always longing for the past, you might not even see the opportunities, the people, the experiences that you can bring you joy right now, today. It's like driving while staring in the rearview mirror all the time, and you're bound to miss what's actually in front of you. I mean, you would never do that, and yet this is what we do with our lives. So the truth is, the past only has as much power over you as you allow it to. Okay? And you get to decide when it stops running the show. You. So I know you get it. The past is keeping you stuck. But how do you actually let go of it and move forward? Because let's be honest, if it was simple as just deciding to move on, you would have done, wouldn't you? I know that's how I felt. So the truth is, letting go isn't about pretending that the past didn't happen or forcing yourself to forget. You know, people say forgive and forget. You don't forget. But what you can do, it's about, you can shift how you relate to it so that it no longer has that control over you. And it no longer has the control over your confidence, over your happiness, or over your future. So let's talk about some real practical ways to release the grip of the past and start living fully today and in the future. So letting go isn't about waving this magic wand and suddenly feeling free from the past. It is about practicing new ways of thinking and new ways of responding so that old regrets, resentments, nostalgia no longer control us. So are you ready for these tips and techniques? And I have to say, I use these to be able to let go of lots of regrets, lots of resentments. And now I use them as and when I feel the need to, because trust me, you know, nobody is perfect. We still have regrets. Things still happen where we get angry, we feel resentful, and we actually, you know, me too, and I have to deal with it, and I have to actually try and reframe it. So I'm going to give you these tips that hopefully are going to help you. The first one, and this is really key, okay, is you need to be honest with yourself about what is keeping you stuck. What is stopping you from moving on? This is where you get your journal out and you actually have to journal your way through what's going on in your head, the arguments, whys, and everything. And you need to get it onto paper, because what we need to do is we need to actually name what's holding you back. You know, is it a regret over something you didn't do or something you didn't say? Or is it anger at how you were treated? Is it a belief that your best days are behind you? Whatever it is, write it down, get it out. What am I reliving every day? What is going on? And we've all done this, you know, if we've had an argument with someone, or if someone, I mean, the worst ones are when somebody does something to you and you feel really affronted by it because their behavior was despicable, and how can they possibly feel like that? And what did I do wrong? And why did somebody do that to me? Why did somebody speak to me like that? And what, you've been there. Get it out on paper. Let's actually write it down. What story do you keep telling yourself about it? Because I can promise you, the first time it happened and now how you're reliving it in your brain are not the same. They're not the same, because we do this. When we retell a story, we don't keep it 100% exactly how it was. We don't remember it that way. This is a story that is coming from your memory. How did they speak to you? What did they say? What was their tone of voice, etc., etc.? So write it all down. And then I want you to ask yourself, really honestly, how is holding on to this actually helping you? Because spoiler alert here, it's probably not. So you've got this story, you've got it out of your head, you've written it on paper, read it. How is the holding on to that actually helping you? And then ask yourself, if I let this go, what could I gain? And think about it might even just be peace of mind. But what can I gain by just letting this go? Because this is the same with every single thing we teach, every single thing that I will coach anybody on. Self-awareness is the first step to changing the narrative. If you're not aware that you're resenting something, if you're not aware that you've got this regret, if you're not aware of what's going on, you won't be able to do anything. So you need that self-awareness. You need to be able to really hone down, get your story out, find out what it is, and be honest about it. We're never 100% guilt-free, guys, I'll tell you now. But when we repaint that picture, it's never our fault. So let's be honest. The second one that I'm going to suggest to you, and I know this sounds really hard to do, and in some instances it is nigh on impossible, I know, but bear with. I want you to practice forgiveness, even if I don't deserve it. And the reason I want you to do that, okay, it's not about saying what happened was okay, or saying what they did was okay, that's not it. It's about releasing yourself from that emotional burden of carrying it. You just literally forgive. Forgive their ignorance, forgive their inabilities, forgive whatever it is. Forgive, release it, because then you're not carrying it around with you. So if you are holding on to this resentment, because this is particular when you've had an argument, or if you're getting divorced and you just can't get to grips with why your husband has treated you like that, or why why somebody would do that to you, and you're just so full of resentment, I want you to ask yourself really honestly, how much longer am I willing to let this person take up space in my mind? Ask that question. How much longer am I willing to allow this person to take up space in my mind? This person that you resent, this person that's annoyed you, this person who's done things that has really got to you, really made you like, ugh. How much longer are we going to allow them to take up that space in our minds? Ask that question. And then ask, what would change if I decided to put this down and move forward? because I'm going to say this to you again. We can't change the past. We can't live a life in the past. It's already been lived. So you holding on to this, you letting them take up space in your mind is actually stopping you from going forward, from stopping you from enjoying yourself. They don't care. They've done their bit. You reliving that conversation you're not having doesn't make any difference. So what would change if you decided to put that down and actually move forward? I'd love to know. And just remember, forgiveness isn't always about the other person. Sometimes it's about setting yourself free. I mean, that's literally all it is. You know, when I first started getting into this and somebody said to me, you just need to forgive these people, I thought, I'm forgiving them. Absolute a-holes. They've treated me so badly. It wasn't about them. And that's what I need you guys to understand. It's actually about you. It's about you no longer carrying that burden. So give it a go. It's hard. It's hard, but give it a go. Then the next one, you need to rewrite the story that you're telling yourself. Okay, because your past is just a collection of facts and some fiction, as I said, because we rewrite it how we want to. Those things, they happened. Everything happens, but it's the meaning that you've attached to that. That's where you have the power. So we all interpret meaning differently. So if you think about it, if somebody bumped into you, and you're walking down the corridor and somebody bumps into you and they turn around and they say, oh, so sorry, didn't see you there. You go, that's absolutely fine, no problem. Yeah, fine, no problem, walk on. You do, because that's who we are. But if you walk down the same corridor and somebody bumps into you and then they just like look at you and then they walk off, you are raging. You are raging. You are now experiencing a completely different emotion. It's the same event that has happened, but you're experiencing a different emotion. And we have the ability to change that. So when you think about it, think about the fact that it's the same fact somebody bumped into you. But let's be honest, it's how we react to it and it's what we attach the meaning to be. Because the first person, yeah, they weren't looking, they weren't paying attention, but there was no malice. The second person, you've instantaneously attached the fact that actually they were doing that to annoy you. They were doing it out of malice. So we need to look at how we're attaching it. So, for example, if you think about your marriage, you might have been married for 30 years, it's coming to an end. And instead of sitting there and going, oh my God, I've wasted years in that relationship. I should have left earlier. I should have done that. Just think about it differently. How about you think about that and you go, well, do you know what? I learned what I will and won't accept in love. I now know what I want from my life. I now know what I want when I love somebody. It's the same event that's happened, but you'll get into a very different meaning of what's happened. Yeah, it's same as this, think about your career. I should have been braver in my career. I should have gone for those promotions. I should have put myself forward. I should have okay, that happened. You didn't do those things. You didn't put yourself forward. But you know what? Instead of thinking like that, just say, yeah, I played it safe then, but I can choose differently now. It's the same event, but it's how we do it. And every time you catch yourself repeating these old regrets, reframe it in a way that empowers you. Okay, so it's really important to start rewriting that story. I find it really easy sometimes to actually be able to reframe somebody else's behavior. So when I was training to be a coach, one of the coaches that was training me talked about how he had this awful boss, this absolutely awful boss, and he really just wanted to quit work because he disliked him so much. And he needed to find a way to be able to just deal with it. And so in his head, he reframed this guy's life, if you like, and he decided that this guy who was annoying him actually was probably in a really horrible marriage. like wasn't happy at home, didn't have any friends, like was really struggling with his own life. And like the only reprieve he had from that awful life was to come to work. But he was so angry on the inside that he would then be angry on the outside, and he'd treat it like that. And over time, he actually started to feel sorry for him. I mean, it's unbelievable how you can, you know, I mean, this man was horrible. He resented him and everything, but actually, he really, really, really started to get annoyed. Hi, Julie. So it's like, you can reframe it. You can change the meaning. You can rewrite the story. Okay, so I've done that loads of people that, where I've held some resentment for somebody, I've actually gone back and thought, you know, actually, they just weren't happy. And that's probably why they did what they did to me. They weren't happy. And actually, it's really easy to be horrible to somebody who is happy. It's really easy to be horrible to somebody if you're jealous of what they've got. So think about it. Rewrite the story to make you feel better, because this is all we're doing, guys, is making us feel better. Rewrite it. There was a reason it happened. Rewrite it if you don't like it. Reframe it, rewrite it. Next, number 4, stop living in the what ifs. Oh, how many times do you, oh, do you know, if only I'd done that, I could have done this. If only I'd taken that promotion, I'd be on 80 grand a year now. Oh, if only I hadn't done that, then I'd be, we need to stop with the what ifs and the if onlys. Okay, we need to start living with the what's next. You know, if you're constantly looking backwards, you're going to miss what's right in front of you. Think about the car rear view mirror. Let's start shifting our focus by asking things like, you know, what is something I can do today that my future self will thank me for? What is it? And what new experiences, what new people, what new opportunities am I open to? Because, yeah, the past is there. We've gone past it. Literally, it's there. We've got the whole of our lives in front of us. Let's concentrate on that. And guys, you don't need to know exactly where you're going. Don't not do things. It's like, you just get in the car. Let's just drive. Let's go somewhere. Let's do something. Let's leave that past behind. We just need to take that next step. Don't worry about the full destination. Yeah. Next one, and this is a little bit like rewriting your story. Okay. And I keep saying this, you know, let go of the fantasy version of the past. And we do this particularly when we put on these rose-colored glasses, and we do it all the time. Okay, I call it amnesia. I really do. Because what happens is something is going on in our lives. We're not happy about it. We don't like it very much. You know, we want to change it. We really want to change it. And then we get to that stage where we think, oh, no, I don't. It's not really that bad, is it? And then you start remembering the good, and you only ever think about the good. And then you fantasize about it. You know, you fantasize about how wonderful your marriage was when the kids were young, and oh, it was perfect. I am quite sure nobody had the perfect marriage when their kids were young, because you were probably exhausted. But you've forgotten that. You've washed that all away, because now it's a different kind of challenge. It's a different exhaustion. Same with when you first started your job. Yeah, you probably did go out. You probably did do things. You probably made friends a lot easier. And I think, but let's be honest, it's a fantasy. And most of the things that we remember, I've said it before, we like to either remember them as a lot worse than they were or a lot better than they were. We don't often remember them exactly as they were. And that's the thing. So, like, you know, the dream job probably wasn't as ideal as you think it was. The perfect relationship, it had its struggles too. You know, I can remember thinking to myself, you know, I was totally in love with this guy, absolutely totally in love with it. Oh, I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. Now I've taken off those rose-tinted glasses. I can see it for exactly what it was. It was a relationship that would never work. Yeah, it was fun, but it would never have worked. And now I can see that. I can move forward. I can actually, you know, I was able to actually really enjoy my marriage. And no, I didn't have a relationship outside my marriage, by the way, guys. That sounded really weird, didn't it? When I said that, it wasn't like that. But what I'm saying is I'd always held on to this, oh, if only it was like that kind of thing. And actually, it wasn't like that, because I'd painted this beautiful fantasy picture in my head of how wonderful it was, but it wasn't reality. So I want you to really think about that reality. Let go of that fantasy version. Start romanticizing about your future if that's what you want to do. You know, what is the best version of my life that is still ahead for me? That's a great thing to think of. Or what if I create something even better than the something that I've lost? That'd be absolutely amazing, wouldn't it? And then the most important thing is that we actually take action in the present. Because letting go isn't just about a mindset shift. It is massively a mindset shift, but it's actually something you actively do. So if you're really struggling, these are some things that I've done that have worked for me. Write a letter. You're not sending it, by the way, guys. Write a letter to the person who's peed you off. Write down absolutely everything you want to say. Everything. And then burn it or rip it up. You've got it out. You've written it down. Declutter any physical reminders. If you're really struggling with moving on because you're holding on to an ex or you're holding on to a life, don't keep going and looking back at the photographs. I'm not saying you need to delete them, but, well, sometimes you need to delete them. You know, guys, sometimes you need to put them somewhere where they can't be seen. Don't have them keep propping up on your phone if it's hurting you. If it's holding you somewhere and you're feeling sad and it's making you not move forward, you know, get rid of stuff. We don't need painful reminders. We don't need painful memories. And the next one is to actually try something new. Because new is new. It's not in the past. It's in our future. It's in our present. So try something different. Yeah, Julie, let's create our future. You know, try something new, a new hobby, a new experience, or a habit. And it can remind you that life isn't over. Life is just starting. It's unfolding. It's amazing. So every single small action that you take towards your present and future weakens that hold on the past. So I hope that you can use some of these tips and these tricks. I hope you can be really honest with yourself. If you've got something going on, get your journal out, be honest, find out what it is that's keeping you stuck. Forgive if it's a person or it's a situation or it's a thing. Forgive, not for them, for you. All right? Always for you. And you just got to keep going through this. You have to keep going. You have to rewrite that story. You have to get rid of the fantasy from the past, put the fantasy in the future. Be honest, get it done. So some days are going to be easier than others, guys. We all know this. Sometimes something will literally trigger us and we just go straight back to it. But when you do, you now know what to do. You now know that it's happening. Your self-awareness is there. Rewrite that story, reframe that story, think about something else you can do. And just gently bring yourselves back to today and the excitement of living today and tomorrow. And you might even want to think about next week, but other than that, it's fine.